considered as his contribution to the edifice of our nation an independent foreign policy of promoting and achieving true independence from foreign domination. This was symbolized by the change of Independence Day from July 4th to June 12, thus by recognizing that we were born as a nation on June 12, 1898, rather than July 4, 1946. He recognized the heroism of Rizal, Bonifacio, Aguinaldo, and their compatriots who fought for the nationhood of our country. His foreign policy began when he was still in Congress, and he authored the Foreign Service Act that professionalized our Foreign Service Officer Corps. Before his political career, he was tapped by President Quirino to be one of the pioneers of our foreign service. That is why he knew foreign policy so well. In his capacity as a member of the Foreign Service, he was able to negotiate with the British government to return Turtle Islands to the Philippines. He expanded ties with Japan and Spain when it was not yet the fashion in our country. It was not the fashion then to be friends with Japan because that was fresh after the war. But when he invited the Crown Prince and the Crown Princess Akihito and Michiko to make a state visit to the Philippines, that was the beginning of the thawing of our frosty relations with each other. And now Japan is our #1 source of official development assistance. He also developed close ties with Indonesia, that was frowned upon by the Western powers. That was the height of the Cold War. Sukarno was not exactly pro-American. But my father explained to the Americans, how would you feel if the international community objected to your friendship with Mexico, your next door neighbor? Mexico is to you what Indonesia is to us. And we have to be good neighbors within the region. Together with Malaysia and Indonesia, he forged the beginnings of ASEAN through what they called Mafilindo, which stood for Malaysia, Philippines, and Indonesia. My father also considered as his contribution to the edifice of the nation his deliberate and integrated acts in treating the nation like a mature and advanced democracy. He dissuaded black voting. He eschewed electoral violence and terror tactics. In this, he was guided by the wisdom of Don Honorio Ventura, who paid for his schooling and gave him the opportunity to top the bar and to climb out of poverty by education. Don Honorio told him to give back to the community and be among the minority of politicians who ruled with integrity. I remember my father telling us, after he topped the bar, he went to Don Honorio Ventura and said, "How can I repay you for everything you have done?" By that time, he already had a job waiting for him in the biggest law firm of the country, Los Rorenself and Carrascosa. And then what Don Honorio Ventura said, "The only way that you can repay me back is this. With your qualities, someday you will enter politics." He said many politicians, in fact most politicians, enter politics because they have a self-interest or a vested interest to protect. Well, that was Don Honorio Ventura's judgment. It's not necessarily my judgment, but that was Don Honorio Ventura's judgment. And he says, a minority of the politicians enter because they want to serve the country with no vested interest. I want you to be that minority. And so, therefore, Don Honorio Ventura's prognosis later became true, and my father did become a politician. But I can truly say that the Kampapangans who supported him from the time that he ran for Congress in 49, up to the time he ran for president in 1961, certainly helped him to be that politician without vested interests. They supported him financially throughout his electoral campaigns. They did not ask him for any political favors. There was one time when he was a congressman, and one of his financial supporters went to him and said, Dadong, I'm not asking you anything for myself, but now all these friends are coming here, and they're all asking me to ask you help for this and for that. That was the time of the import controls. And you have import controls, there's a lot of discretion on the part of decision makers. And then he said, I guess it really depends on what you envision me to become. If you just want me to stay where I am now, then that's where it is. But if you think that someday I will go farther and be able to help the country, help me by telling all those people that you cannot influence me in making decisions or in peddling influence for among those decision makers who have the discretion to make certain decisions to favor people. And that particular friend of his, a prominent businessman, said, okay, now I understand. I know what to answer. And never again did he approach my father with any of the requests from other businessmen. My father believed in business. He believed that democracy went hand in hand with an open market economy. It was, what he said was, the wealth must be created by the private sector, and then with the taxes they pay, that is where the government redistributes the wealth. During his time, the Philippines was the second most prosperous economy in Asia. He believed in raising the dignity of the Filipino, and he opened Malacanang to what he called the common man. Every Friday was Common Man's Day, so that anyone would have direct access to the highest office of the land. He believed in the integrity of the family, raised us to be hardworking, productive, and good citizens of society. So I am very happy that today, not only the family is commemorating the year of his 100th anniversary, but the extended family of the Angeles University, where he served for almost a decade. So today, as we commemorate a humble man's life, I hope that we will all move forward and contribute to our own fine stones to the edifice of the nation. That will be the highest form of praise we could give to our father's legacy. So once again, to Angeles University, to the Angeles family, to the faculty, staff, students of Angeles University, to the members of the students who believe in the ideals of this university, in the ideals of your former chairman, Diosdado Macapagal, dakala salamat kay Kongan.